Professor Mekki Sibeika, a respected Sudanese historian, sums up the Gordon affair this way. The Mahdi warned that in front of his army marched the Prophet himself, behind him the angel Azrael, peace be upon him, holding a luminous banner, and around him the four caliphs and all the dignitaries of Islam, both dead and alive, and that the Prophet had presented him with the sword of victory, so no one could conquer him, that the Mahdi's armies had taken control of large parts of their own country, defeated the British, taken Khartoum, and were acquiring a reputation for invincibility, was a source of pride to the rest of the region. This was politically and militarily intolerable to London, even after the Mahdi himself died of typhus in 1885. After the failure to rescue Gordon, another imperial warlord, General Herbert Kitchener, built up support with the help of the right-wing press for a jingoist campaign to return and punish the Sudanese patriots. Kitchener, the principal guest at many a banquet, was received by Queen Victoria and became a popular celebrity, sometimes cheered in the streets by veterans and the populace. A decade after Gordon's death, the River War of 1896-1899 commenced, attracting Churchill's attention like a moth to a lamp. He had been watching events in Africa from afar. His tour of duty in India near the Afghan frontier had been remarkable mainly for a novelistic Henty style report he had written on Malakand. Now, his principal preoccupation was how to get into action as soon as possible. In this endeavor, he was repeatedly thwarted by Kitchener. There was no dispute on principle between the two men. Both were empire loyalists. However, for both, fame was the spur. Kitchener had a bloody global record. He had served in Egypt, Sudan, India, South Africa, and Australia. He simply regarded the young Churchill as a spoiled brat. Churchill pressed his mother to use her charms to secure him a posting. She failed. Invited to tea at Downing Street by the Prime Minister Lord Salisbury, who had liked his Malakand report, Churchill hinted strongly how much he would like to serve in Africa. He later sought and obtained a meeting with Sir Schomberg Kerr McDonnell, a close friend of and advisor to Salisbury, whom I had seen and met in social circles since I was a child. He pressed his plea for favoritism still further. Kerr McDonnell's response was friendly but non-committal. I am sure he, Salisbury, will do his best, he informed Churchill. He is very pleased with you, but he won't go beyond a certain point. He may be willing to ask the question in such a way as to indicate that he would like the answer to be. What he would like the answer to be. You must not expect him to press it if the answer is unfavorable. It was. Churchill refused to give up. Finally, after enlisting the help of more family friends in the War Office, he circumvented Kitchener and was informed that he had been attached as a supernumerary lieutenant to the 21st Lancers for the Sudan campaign. Report at once to the Abbasiyeh Barracks, Cairo, to the regimental headquarters. You will proceed at your own expense, and in the event of your being killed or wounded, no charge of any kind will fall on British Army funds. He was now both a freelance journalist and a freelance soldier. He had won, but the feud with Kitchener had been debilitating. An entire chapter, self pitying and self justificatory, is devoted to it in my early years, Churchill's first and best memoir, published in 1930. He had discovered that there were many ill informed and ill disposed people who did not take a favorable view of my activities. The numbers of such people would multiply with the passing of the years. The motive ascribed to them by their target was jealousy, but Churchill's own account of their comments suggests otherwise. What was resented was the blatant cronyism. He was not the only young man who took advantage of his social and class privileges, but no subaltern in a similar position boasted of them more than Churchill did. He was upset at the abuse he suffered, but the terms his detractors used for him, such as medal hunter and self advertiser, seem mild even for the times. Kitchener himself was not innocent of self puffery. By dint of hard work, clever self placement in key imperial hotspots, and a friendly London press, he had promoted himself as the heroic symbol of empire. Napoleon he wasn't. His hostility to Churchill appears to have been motivated by the fact that the young interloper, with his grander background, was trying to do much the same thing. The young man in a hurry had to be slowed down, but Churchill's feelings of mistreatment rankled. In his 1897 novel Savrola, dedicated to the officers of the 4th Queen's Own Hussars, the eponymous hero, after describing the Obloki, hankering after titles and honors, cringing before power, etc., being hurled at him by all sides, reflects. Savrola read these criticisms with disdain. He had recognized the fact that such things would be said and had deliberately exposed himself to them. He knew he had been unwise to go, and yet somehow he did not regret his mistake. He would never resign his right to go where he pleased. In this case, he had followed his own inclination, and the odium which had been cast upon him was the price he was prepared to pay. The damage, however, must be repaired.